Oh, it probably helps if I have my camera on. Hey, there we go. Hello there. Welcome. My name is Tommy, and I'd like to welcome you into the Garbage Chute, the Star Wars show that isn't afraid to deep dive and get a little dirty as we discuss and reassemble a galaxy, dissect and reassemble a galaxy far, far away. But don't worry, we're not diving alone. Joining us in the Garbage Chute is our panel of Star Wars experts to help us navigate the sometimes often murky waters of the Star Wars fandom. And there they are. Look how gorgeous everyone is. It's the Circle of Nerds crew. So welcome, everyone. I'm going to move my windows around here so I can have everything set up, or not. It's fine. We are, of course, going to be discussing Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 3, or part 3, as it is being called currently. So let's head around the horn and talk about, what is this? Okay, we got comments coming in already. I love it. Okay, so we're going to go around and we are going to do this here. God, I've done this before. I swear to God, I've done this before. Quailman!
What's up?
How's it going?
I'm doing it.
Ready to do the thing?
I'm ready to do the thing. It's been like, I don't know, 12 hours since I watched the episode last. So
okay,
I'm excited.
All right, we've got a lot to talk about tonight too. Vicious and Aaron,
hi,
the dynamic duo. You guys doing all right?
Oh yeah.
It's been 30 minutes since I've last seen the episode.
Yeah, we watched them multiple times. We just keep rewatching as like it's a movie. We can't stop.
Yeah, I find that I watched episode 3 twice, and then I had to go back and watch parts 1 and 2 again, and then that just led right back into 3. So yeah, it's really bad. It's really bad. And from the Outer Rim territory of Boston, it's Daddy Louie.
Hello, children.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. So thank you all for taking time out of your very, very busy days and lives. I know everybody has lots and lots and lots of stuff going on in their world. I just have lots of buttons to push here. But we're gonna get into it, and we're gonna do the do. So tonight on the show, we've got a lot of stuff to discuss. We're gonna be talking about, of course, Quinlan Voss. That tantalizing bit of information that we got. We're gonna be talking about Mustafar and the importance that it plays. We've got some information about the additional untold evils of the Empire, just those things that you don't see very often, and the impacts that the Empire has had on not just, as you know, Quailman's going to be taking that for us, but like he said, not just the 1%ers, the Jedi and the Sith and the Empire, the stuff that you see, but the things that we don't see and the ramifications and consequences there. And Ventus is going to be talking to us about Leia. Are you my daddy? What the heck? And younglings and all that stuff. So we are deep diving. We have a lot to talk about tonight. But before we get going on any of that stuff, Aaron, please give us a recap of part 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Part 3, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You've all seen it, so we'll run down it. We open up this episode where Kenobi and Leia are on this transporter going to the planet Mapuza. And it happens to be the coordinates set up by our man, Kumail Nanjiani. Thank you. We come up with Obi meditating, trying to get back into the Force, just replaying some of the old memories that he's had, trying to tap back into his connection. And that's where we get our wonderful line where Leia asks, what does the Force feel like? And he says, have you ever been in the dark and turned on the light? Yeah, that's what it feels like. He fixes Lola, her little droid, and then we get and land on the planet Mapuzo. They sneak past some loader droids and try to go to the coordinates given by Kumail and to meet a contact. They don't see it, so they keep moving. We see that something is playing with Kenobi's Force sensitivity. He sees Anakin in the distance. Is it a mirage? Is it Anakin looking for him? That's kind of what we get into. Eventually, they make their way and end up meeting the Freck, the Zach Bratt Muppet character who drives them with a truck, asks some questions. There's some interrogation right there on the back of the truck as they try to get to a spaceport while they say they're farmers from Toth.
Wait, that was the mole guy, right? Zach Braff's character was the mole man.
The star-nosed mole. Muppet,
that was great.
Zach Braff. They eventually make their way. There's a scuffle. They're saved by Tala, and then they end up getting to a spaceport where we realize that there's been a larger network called the Path that gets people safely to the planet Jim Beam. Yes.
Jim Beam.
Jim Beam, led by the Game of Thrones assassin, Tala. And so she helps Obi and Leia. Ned B is the loader droid with a fucking awesome hammer. Thank you. Lowe's, I'm going to look at you right now to sell that to me. And then eventually that's where Reva connects with Darth Vader. They talk about trying to get to Obi, and that's where the sisters, brothers, in their own power struggle convene. Darth Vader leads, and that's then what leads to the epic reunion between Obi and Anakin, a.k.a. Darth Vader, a.k.a. Michael Myers, a.k.a. Freddy the Krueger. Jesus Christ.
All your horrors come to life.
He's murdering everybody out here. And then Obi's running away and eventually saved by Tala. Ned B and Leia is now in struggle trying to run away from the third sister, Reva. What is Reva's real motives here? Power, or is she really looking for Obi? I don't know. I mean, those are the questions that come up for me. So that's your recap.
Thank you very much. That was an outstanding recap. Wow. Yeah, that was that was an outstanding recast. I got nothing. I got nothing to respond to that. That was I kind of want to go watch it again.
Yeah.
I don't want to go watch it again. So we had a lot of things going on in this episode, of course. You know, there were some shocker moments. You know, we heard, you know, some whispers. We saw some things. We felt some things. This was a gut-wrenching, and V, you had mentioned this. This was a gut-wrenching Filoni-esque episode.
Oh, yeah. It felt like Filoni walked in there like secretly and found the script and was just like adding notes of pain.
just logging it in.
Yeah.
It's like, how can we hurt them more?
How
Rebels
have we
and
not
Clone
hurt
Wars
them
wasn't
yet?
enough.
Yeah.
So, all right, now what we want to do next is we're going to talk about our rating for this episode. Now, last week we had our ratings for episodes or parts 1 and 2. So we want to talk about our ratings this week for part 3. So, Ventus, Aaron, what is your rating for this week's episode and why?
My rating for this week's episode is 10 out of 10. I have to say, as a Kenobi fan, like my bar is very high. I went into this prepared to be disappointed a little bit because I was like, that way there's no way to go it up. But I think the story so far has been excellent. I think the story, particularly that they showed in 3, is amazing. I was blown away by so many aspects of it. 10 out of 10.
All right, fair enough. Daddy Louie. Oh, jeez. See, you know what? You haven't even said anything yet. And I'm gonna hit you. I can tell. By the look on your face, I see it.
If it's less than 5, I'm shutting this down.
Right. And look at. He put on his wrestling wristbands, like he's about to.
For my carpal tunnel, man.
No. We're about to get hit with emotional tables and ladders and chairs. Oh my.
This is why he stays in Boston, because he knows if he was in Cleveland saying this shit.
Yeah. Then it's a wrap on Daddy Louie. All right. Oh,
okay.
So
ahead. Last week I gave episode 1 and 2 a 4 out of 10. This week, yep, I know.
There were no
this week,
bifurcated stormtroopers then, so sorry, I'm cutting.
I'm giving this episode a 7 out of 10.
Oh, okay. All
So
right.
this was significantly better than the first 2 episodes. I still have issues, but I won't get into them. Yeah, it
So
was,
why?
it was
So
better.
why was this? What made this? A bit higher on the rating scale for you?
Yeah, so my biggest complaint in episode 1 and 2 is that they introduced these new characters and didn't give us a reason to care about them, or any backstory to help kind of guide us forward with these new characters.
Okay.
Except for throwaway lines. This week, they've started to take those new characters and give me a reason to care about them. And obviously, I know that's character development and how shows normally work, but Disney just likes to drip feed things to me. And so I have to wait a month to figure out the full story. But yeah, this show is starting to give me reasons to care about characters. And that's why I give it a higher rating.
All right, very good. So maybe we'll get a 10 out of 10 by the end of the series. Maybe. Quailman!
Yeah, I was actually thinking that it didn't hit on the same points that I thought the first 2 episodes did, so I was going to give it a slightly lower than the 10 out of 10 I gave the first 2. But then Aaron's recap got me so friggin' hyped. And I remembered things from the beginning of the episode that I didn't think about in my rewatch because I was a little distracted trying to work and do things at the same time.
Yeah.
But just the way that Obi-Wan describes the Force, man, that's a thing that it sort of happens and it's experienced differently by everyone. And so it was really cool to see that perspective and just these little things. And of course the Vader fight was, anyone who craps on that Vader fight, just come knock on my door. I will throw hands. It was great. 10 out of 10.
All right. So we talked about it. We touched on it briefly. Heart-wrenching moments. We're going to get into the other stuff, but I do just kind of want to go around, and there were so many moments this week that were really, really emotion driven. I mean, they really were tugging on the heartstrings. I mean, whether it's, Leia asking who's her daddy, we've got, just Vader cutting loose. We've got, Obi-Wan, like Quailman, like you said, talking about what the Force feels like. Mine, oh man, was when he sees Vader for the first time, and he that connection is, it's yeah, it's he didn't all these things that Obi-Wan didn't want to believe were now finally, everything just came to light, and it was just undeniable at that point that everything that you wanted to not believe about your best friend and brother, it's all true.
You can see the horror in his eyes as he watches him go down that street. It's almost like you could see that Obi-Wan knows the tactic. We saw it before with Reva on Tatooine, getting people, torturing them to try and draw out the Jedi. Mm-hmm. Vader just took that to the extreme and said, I'm not going to torture people. I'm going to straight up one by one murder innocent people until Obi-Wan shows himself. And it's almost like you can every death just took more and more away from Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Oh, and Jamie had said it here. She said, I want to cry about Obi talking about Padme. Oof. Just, and the stormtrooper is like, wait, you called her Leia? Oh, she reminds me of her mother. It's like, oh, pull it. Just take it. Just take my heart. So that's, so Doug, did you have a moment that was just like that gut wrenching, just please take my heart out of my chest now?
I thought that honestly, it was, for me, it was when he sees the mirage of Anakin, that moment of he's tapped into something, right? He's been trying, and even in his way of reaching out to Qui-Gon in the first 2 episodes, and then the beginning of this one, he's trying now, I think, more in earnest to connect to the Force. But to see it kind of manifest initially in that way was that hurt pretty bad. It was like 3 seconds, and I just went, ugh.
Yeah. Oh, Brent. Oh my God. Yes. Brent said the moment that Vader said, "You are what you made me." Jesus Christ. What? Who wrote this? Who wrote this episode?
Fucking Filoni, probably. I think he has a ghostwriter pen name. I'm convinced. At the end, we're gonna find out he's behind all of this.
I'm convinced he is Palpatine. He is, just pulling all the strings behind the scenes. Daddy Louie, your heart wrencher for this week.
So I think for me, it was a little more subtle. It was the realization that, Obi-Wan failed 10 years ago, and now he, 10 years later, he's still failing. Perfect example is the fact of the matter that he has not been able to communicate with Qui-Gon. Yeah. He has spent the last 10 years in training trying to be able to speak with his master, and his master has yet to respond. That's what I kind of feel like, because we don't really know, right? We don't know how Jedi are able to communicate from the dead. We know that it exists. We just don't know exactly how it's done. And so I've always thought of it as like the person trying to communicate is, internally calling out, but the person within the Force has to also be willing to respond. So in this moment, it's kind of like Obi-Wan has been trying to reach out to Qui-Gon, and Qui-Gon is not coming to him. You know what I mean?
Is he out running errands? What is Qui-Gon doing? Is Qui-Gon?
Well, I think in Obi-Wan's mind, Qui-Gon is disappointed in him. That's why, he says, "I'm sorry, Master. I failed you, Master." I think that he's reaching out with his soul, trying to communicate with Qui-Gon, and because Qui-Gon's not answering, I think internally he's like, he's
That's
disappointed in me, and I've disappointed my master, and
so maybe that's what's holding him back from,
it's possible.
It's like, yeah, because you saw how difficult it was for him to grab Leia using the Force. So maybe this is, that self-doubt, that self-doubt, that self-hate.
I almost saw it as because we see him use the Force. Really, the only time we see him use it is to save Leia's life. Mm-hmm. I think he might use it maybe a smidge on the street at dark just to pull Vader away from the citizens just a little bit. But I almost feel like he's been so terrified of failure that he really hasn't been trying and doing everything he can to reach out to Qui-Gon. I feel like he's absolutely terrified of failing again. And so he's kind of half-heartedly hoping that Qui-Gon will mostly come to him.
Okay.
That's kind of how I've been taking it. He's been so scared, and we see him how he questions Leia, how she can have hope, how Tala can want to fight. He's so broken down. He literally cannot understand how anyone could even just stand their ground and fight, have anything to fight for. This is the first time he's almost I think we're seeing Obi-Wan starting to just regain his sense of humanity, in touch with the world around him. I think that he hasn't been in touch with the Force in a decade.
Sure. So he's just very much a broken man. Every sense of the word, he is a broken man. Mm-hmm. Jeez. All right. Wow. What a bummer. I'm sorry about that. That's entirely my fault. All right. So let's spice things up a little bit. We're going to be talking about some things that maybe maybe you don't know. And that's the whole point of the show, is we want to do these deep dives for you so that you have a better understanding of this galaxy far, far away that we love so much. So one of the biggest things that came out of this episode this week that didn't rip our hearts out of our chests, the verbalization of the name Quinlan Voss. For those of you that are familiar with, the EU, now Legends, and, some other properties here and there. And I believe we saw Quinlan Voss, but he wasn't named in a Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace, wasn't he? He was walking.
That's where he showed up for the first time.
Yeah, that's where he showed up. But he's never been mentioned. I think this is the first time that he's actually been mentioned. in like live action?
In the movies, yeah.
In live action.
Live action, yeah. We're not talking about animated, but in live action. So, Aaron, you're going to be taking, you're going to be telling us a little bit about Quinlan Voss. So let us know what is the significance of Quinlan, and how do you think that he's going to tie in to either this series, or is he going to maybe tie into some future Disney projects?
Oh, that's fantastic.
Thank you. I try. I wrote it.
I mean, my fascination with Quinlan Voss here is that he's the Figwit of the Star Wars universe. If Figwit doesn't tie into anything, in Lord of the Rings, Brett McKenzie of Flight of the Conchords played a very simple character that said, "Are you coming, lady?" And the internet and the fan base lost their goddamn mind, and they came up with a name for this character and a backstory. And so that's what happened here with Quinlan Voss, this no-name character in the background. So that's one reason that I love Quinlan. But second, this Jedi Master willed out of the internet ether, it just, I think, captures so much fascination for the kind of Jedi that I think most of us would be, in how he struggles with the light side of the Force and with the dark side of the Force. When we see so many, I mean, I guess with Kylo, we kind of saw that journey as well, him battling the light side and then, becoming Sith. Quinlan Voss did the same thing, becoming a dark acolyte of Count Dooku alongside Asajj Ventress, but at the same time, he and Asajj have this romance together, which ties him back to the light. I think that's the journey of the common man, and that's why his character is so appealing, and that's why him showing up all hippie in the Clone Wars could be part of why his type of character will end up pulling Obi back into the kind of hero that we expect him to be.
So are we going to see him in Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, not the man, but are we going to, I mean, that's whatever. I mean, it is the new millennium.
Will we see him? Well, there is an actor, O'Shea Jackson, who is credited for 3 episodes, and we have what? 3 episodes?
3 episodes left.
3 parts left. And he most closely identifies. Now, he's not a man. Of course, we'd know him from Godzilla. Also, was it Straight Outta Compton? Am I right about that?
Yeah, because doesn't he play his dad? Am I thinking of the same person?
Well, that's the actor. Will we see him? I want to.
Okay.
I really want to. And I think, we need someone like that to shake things up. Now, this episode could be the part 3. That could be like the emotional depth, where we really need to be grounded, where we really need to understand the stakes. So now, going forward, this is going to be, I think, Obi's ascension. And who better to shake that up than somebody who's just wildly out there, kind of already in the fight, has had his own demons and has overcome the dark side and chosen to come back through, his love of Asajj, through being a family man, broken every Jedi rule. But here he is, saving younglings, saving other people in the fight for the hope. What better a character than Quinlan Voss to give Obi back his hope, I think.
Right. I think that's a great point. The internet has been kind of buzzing about the possibility of seeing Quinlan as being the person who saves Grogu from the Jedi Temple. So do you think that we might be getting that flashback, or maybe a mention of it? Because obviously the Mandalorian needs to make its presence felt in every single property, everywhere, all the time.
Down our goddamn throats in every Star Wars property.
We need more Grogu.
I hate that little green guy.
Pop Funkos. We need more Grogu on our Target shelves. Anything to push him more. We got him back here.
We do.
Look, Grogu's not my favorite character, but here's this, at the same time, any Order 66 flashback you can give me, I'm going to eat that up.
Yeah, no doubt. That was pretty impressive.
I don't think we're yet at the point where we're going to see how Grogu was saved.
No, you don't think so?
No, not this early.
Maybe a mention of it?
It's got to be something connected to Mando. It won't be Grogu related, but I would like to see a bit. Well, maybe this might be a standalone. So in the future, after what? Rogue Squadrons, after Skeleton Crew, after everything. Exactly. Brent, you got it. You took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, Brent says Voss was on Kashyyyk during Order 66.
Later, he had his own family with a Twi'lek. Of course, who wouldn't? My hands up. I'd start my family with a Twi'lek too.
Don't get him started on Ayala Sakura.
Oh,
Ayla Sakura, Quinlan Voss. What? Padawan.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Kind of creepy though, but you know. But that's fine. So, you know what? I'm thinking, what if we just see, and I could see them doing this to us, where we just see Quinlan like in a post-credit scene, he's either pushing or making Grogu's little pram, his little hover egg, his little repulsor egg thing. So,
yeah, maybe to take a feather out of Daddy Louie's cap, maybe they'll just keep drip feeding us Quinlan Voss throughout the years. Like, yeah, you want them? We'll give them to you a little bit.
All right, they'll get us going. All right, so thank you. That's really cool. And for those of you that aren't familiar with, you know, the look of Quinlan Voss, he's got this like cool. He's got like these cool dreads. He's got the, you know, the makeup, the tattoos under his eyes. He's a really cool looking. There he is. He is a very, very cool looking character. And he's a cool character all the way around. So that is great stuff. So Quailman, we got to see a little bit of the Empire's destructive force, not just, you know, their physically destructive force that we know about with all the pew pews and the bang bangs and slavery and torture and things like this. We actually got to see a planet that is effectively being just stripped of all its natural resources by the Empire. And this kind of calls back, and I'm failing to remember now, but the Nagri, I think this was an EU thing. They were Grand Admiral Thrawn's little spy henchman type guys. They were like these little dog type characters. And during the time of the Empire, when they were at their peak, they came to this planet because there were a bunch of starships that had crashed on this planet. And Vader came and said, you know what, we're going to hook you up. We're going to clean up all this stuff. And we're going to basically re-terraform your planet and make everything cool for you. And then so the Nagri, I think, they were like, you know what, Darth Vader, we love you. We are going to pledge our lives. It was basically like a Wookiee life debt for these guys. And they became assassins for the Empire. And Thrawn found these guys years later after he comes out of the maw, finds them and employs them as his personal assassins. And they're just wicked, just crazy. But what Vader did was he was actually destroying their planet, you know, under the guise of healing it. And they said, oh, it's going to take 50 more years. It's going to take 60 more years before we, you know, all this. They're bringing in machinery. They're ripping up the earth. They're destroying like sacred areas. And that was the first time in the books that we saw that kind of devastation. But it was just really shitty because they were telling these folks, this is for your benefit. But in fact, they were just raping their entire environment. And then later on, Leia comes and they smell her Vader's scent and she becomes Lady Vader. And that's a whole thing. And you can look it up. It's a lot of fun. But Doug, please, I'm sorry. I get excited about the EU stuff. What is going on with this planet? What are we seeing here? Because it is sad. It's just sad.
So it's really interesting. You know, we know it's a new setting for the Star Wars universe, Mapuzo. To my knowledge, and again, I'm not the most well-read Star Wars fan, but we have never encountered Mapuzo before. And really, the only thing we learn about it is what Obi-Wan tells us. Oh, yeah, it used to be a bustling, you know, a lot of people lived here, a lot of different ways of life. And then we see it's a barren wasteland that, you know, they're mining for minerals, metals, whatever. But it made me think about just the overarching evils of the Empire. And it kind of got me fired up because, like, we see the Death Star, right? And don't get me wrong, that's a big deal. But, like, you know, through some of the prequel stuff, like, I don't know, peace and order in the galaxy, that doesn't sound terrible, right? I mean, they're obviously talking points. They're fascists. It's crazy. We don't like them. But Now we get to see through Kessel and the spice mines and enslaving the Wookiees. We get to see through Lothal and just completely destroying that planet from the inside out with their mining and factory work. We see Bespin, which was at one point an Imperial facility mining gas, and then Lando, gets his paws on it. So to see this, we're just continuing to build that world, and I love the consistency, and I think it's important as fans, especially for new fans, to understand like this is now the common practice that we know of for the Empire. They go into communities, they destroy them for their resources, they forcibly recruit their children into the Stormtrooper program. They enslave others depending on what you look like, whether you're a Wookiee or a Twi'lek, right? So the Empire is like literally accomplishing every awful atrocity you could possibly think of. There's not a thing that is off the table for Palpatine, and I think that that's really important. It sets up, to me anyways, more effectively, I think, than any of the other properties have. It really sets up the impetus for things like Rogue One, for Rebels, to see this rebellion start to grow. It is how do you overthrow the most militarized government that is overseeing an entire galaxy? Well, it starts with everyone being really pissed off at that government.
Right.
So, it's really interesting to see that community grow and build and accomplish the great things that they do. And yeah, there are some like high level 1% flu, we're using the Force things, which makes Star Wars great. Don't get me wrong, but I've always kind of laughed about like the civil war between, the Separatists and the Republic. It was all very high level. It wasn't necessarily affecting like, a poor kid on Tatooine didn't give a shit that there was a civil war. But now, I mean, and some of them did, don't get me wrong, like the Separatists were doing really sick things like testing, destroying organic matter on a planet full of lemur people that had Scottish accents. No one knows why. But,
Sorry.
But, I mean, they were doing terrible things. I don't know why they were Scottish. No one knows.
We'll not get involved in your war.
But, like, we get to, we're really seeing how, like, the constant shifting, right, from Republic, which kind of had a handle on mid and core systems, but didn't really care about anything else. Right. And Empire, which was like, nope, I own it all. Now, then we work our way back to, it sets up the prequels better for me to understand how it is affecting people. I just thought it was a really cool point.
Now, I do have a question for you. Do you think, because there is social commentary within Star Wars, it's usually very, very subtle, very thinly, not even thinly veiled. It's pretty heavily veiled from time to time. What we're seeing on Marzipan, it's not Marzipan. Marsupial?
Mapuzo.
Right. No, what we're seeing on
my poop.
My Puzo. It's not your Puzo, it's my Puzo. So what we're seeing there is could this be social commentary about what we're doing to planet Earth, or is it not that deep? Is it just we're just seeing what the Empire's doing?
Well, I mean,
we could theorize that that's what they're doing, but do you think that they're doing that on purpose?
I think it means what it means to people. What it means to people. I do think that there's probably some intentional, like, slavery's bad, which you would think needed to be said in 2022, but apparently it does.
Well, the internet,
right? But like, I'm just saying, like, I'm looking at it going, like, all right, let's start the revolution. We can do this. And, someone who has 15 AR-15s in their basement may not be feeling that same way. No. But it's Star Wars for everyone. So kind of, I don't know.
Right. No, I love it.
Let's do it.
Let's go, guys. I don't know. All right, we're going to continue on with our planetary journey through the galaxy. Doug, thank you so much, sir. That was outstanding.
Well, it was outstanding.
I love talking about Star Wars stuff. You know what I mean? It's just, I just fucking love it. I love talking about Star Wars stuff. more than just like recapping or saying, I like this about the episode. I like this about the episode. It's just nice to do what we do. I love you guys. This is awesome. All right. Daddy Louie, Mustafar. That is obviously a pivotal planet, within Star Wars canon. Obviously that was the site of the duel. That's where Vader was made, essentially. And, we've seen it in Rogue One. We saw it again, here. And we know that was the Trade Federation, the Mining Guild, I believe. They were,
Mining Guild, yep.
Yeah, they were kind of running things on Mustafar, obviously, mining stuff that, like Doug said, you've got to feed these war machines with something. So who knows? I mean, was Mustafar like a beautiful planet at one point, or was it always lava?
It absolutely was a lavish planet.
Why don't you tell us more, Daddy Louie?
I shall. So really what I want to discuss is how Vader's connection to the planet Mustafar really it goes way beyond the fact that it's just his home. So the planet of Mustafar has a pretty robust history. I won't go into all of it, obviously. But one thing that you should know is that Mustafar was a rich and lavish planet. But like all living things, the planet itself was corrupted by the dark side. And, that's what ultimately led to volcanoes and not so much a lush planet anymore. So yeah, it's Mustafar has always had a deep connection with the dark side. That is why Palpatine sent Anakin there, sent the Separatist leaders there, and ultimately Anakin there to kill the Separatist leaders. The reason behind Palpatine, as we just said, Daddy Palpatine is everywhere and anywhere, and he can be linked to anything. Palpatine knew the strength of the dark side on the planet Mustafar, and so he, of course, orchestrated all of that. What he couldn't have anticipated was his injuries sustained on the planet. So he never intended for Anakin to actually stay there as long as he did. Once he was resurrected as Darth Vader, he made his home there, which we have seen in, as Tommy mentioned, we've seen it in Obi-Wan, we've seen it in Rogue One. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they also, I don't know this, I had to read it on the internet because I've never seen Rebels, as the team will let you know over and over again. But it was in Clone Wars, I believe. Yeah, I know. And the planet Mustafar, if I'm also remembering correctly, was in Rise of Skywalker. Is that not where Kylo went to get the Wayfinder or the Sith Finder?
The Sith holocron or whatever.
That thing.
That was like a snowy planet, wasn't it?
No,
I think
where he
it
had
might
like
have been
the duel in the
Mustafar.
forest. I believe it was.
Yeah, because those little dudes were little Anakin cultists, or Vader cultists.
Yeah, so I believe that was on Mustafar as well. So we've seen it all throughout canon. We see in Obi-Wan and also in Rogue One, Vader look out what looks like a very long window. And the theory there is that he's looking out onto the cliff where he lost to Obi-Wan as another constant reminder, feeding himself with rage and anger. And I think all of that really leads up to what we saw in episode 3, him kind of unleashing this hatred and this anger that has basically been building up for 10 years. And one more two quick mentions. In the comics, Vader builds something in the basement of his castle on Mustafar, basically, and he uses it to try and resurrect Padme. That is in the Vader comics, which are also canon. So he actually uses the power of the dark side on the planet of Mustafar to help try and resurrect Padme. It doesn't go too good for him. And last but not least, one thing that I found quite interesting is the Inquisitor planet that we've also seen now in Obi-Wan is also right next to Mustafar in that solar system.
The same
So the
system?
two planets are, two planets are super close together, which is why Vader and the Inquisitors could arrive at exactly the same time.
That's very convenient.
Yeah.
We had a comment. Graint. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name.
G.
What's up, G? Just do G, because otherwise I'm gonna just make a fool of myself. Just do G. It's fine. So G asks, so is it kind of like Dagobah? Empire Strikes Back seems to imply that it is a Force planet. Dagobah is indeed a Force planet. It is heavy with the dark side, which is why Yoda went there to begin with, because it was really, really able to mask his presence. And the little cave, the little temple that we see Luke go into, that is a Sith temple, I believe. And then we see that again in oh my God, like it's probably one of the greatest Star Wars games ever made, where you are Star Killer. Force Unleashed, right? So, because I remember that, because you get this really badass TIE pilot outfit, and you have to go back to Dagobah and you encounter that. So I believe that's a Sith temple, Sith cave of some sort.
Is that similar to what we see in, I believe, episode 8, where Rey kind of has that like black pool and it's like that weird mirror?
Yeah.
Similar.
Yeah. So I think the technical term is a Vergence of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And like
Virgin of the Force?
Virgins.
Oh,
Get your mind out of the gutter.
Specifically on Dagobah, that cave is a Vergence of the Force, and it affects the whole planet. And in Last Jedi, that well thing on the island is a Vergence in the Force. Okay. And Mustafar is an actual Vergence in the Force as well, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So it's just these areas that are like super hypercharged with Force energy. Yeah. And they can lean light or dark. It seems we've only seen dark ones though, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. With the Tommy, and you might know this, and I know that Doug, you'll know what I'm talking about. Same with Aaron. In Clone Wars, where we see the planet with the brother and the sister and the father, is that planet also a Vergence of the Force? Do you know, or is that like its own?
I think that's like a tier up even.
Yeah.
That's like this is the Force.
You're talking about like that's like almost like the well of the Force. That's
right.
It just spits Force out.
Yeah.
But we do see Yoda on Dagobah before Empire, because he goes in his last arc of the Clone Wars, and that's actually where he convenes with Qui-Gon Jinn, which is really interesting.
And Ventus, for you, if we're talking about Virgins of the Force, that would probably be Jay Quellen if she was here with us. She's definitely a virgin of the Force. So, all right. Now we're gonna talk about Louis. Thank you. That was awesome. I love the planet stuff.
Got a quick question?
Yes.
Sith planet or like Dark Force planets, like are they all just straight elements of nature, where the Inquisitors are encased in ocean and Mustafar is nothing but lava?
Dagobah swamp.
Yeah.
Right,
well, there were 4 great nations, and each of them could control the elements.
Everything changed when the Empire attacked.
Oh my God.
And everything is Avatar: The Last Airbender. You're all welcome.
Or it could be Captain Planet related. I mean, since we are
to be our new Star Wars, everything relates back to Avatar.
All right, so Brent says Mortis is a conduit. According to Wikipedia.
Makes sense.
Thank you, Brent. I appreciate you. So now we're going to get into some more soul-crushing conversation. Ventus is going to talk to us a little bit about. Oh my God, I don't even want to talk about it out loud.
I know. I'm sorry.
You need to. It's part of the feeling.
That little bus ride with the troopers, and first of all, big ups to those stormtroopers for being able to sit down. If we've got any 501st
and walk up the little stairs into the back of the thing,
if we
lift
have any
your knee to your waist,
right? And actually, like, they looked comfortable. If anyone anywhere has worn any armor, Louis is not allowed to speak on this because he has scout trooper armor, as you can see in the background. He can bend and he can do like, you know, the deep knee raises, and he can sit and he can do all that. So he doesn't get to comment on this stuff. I have a Captain Rex. There is no movement in that. So yeah, if we have any 501st folks that are watching or, you know, listening to the show, man, props to the stormtroopers, props to the TKs, because good Lord. We were at Louis, we were at Lego World, and I think it was the first time I went out in Rex, and it was me and a couple other clone troopers and a couple stormtroopers. And this guy, he dropped like a 20 euro on the ground in front of us and said, whoever can pick it up can have it. It's like, we're all like, nobody could do it. No, but we can't bend. We can't kneel. We can't do anything. So
you need one of those like grabber hand
little grabby thingies.
T-Rex.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Captain Rex with his little T-Rex grabber. Yeah.
That would be awesome. A little T-Rex with like the J guys painted on top of it.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
That should be like issued equipment to anyone that's wearing TK armor for sure. Yeah, Jamie's saying it. What else we got here? Oh, Brent says all I can think of is the LMTV military rides back from the field during that. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Yeah, Jamie, you can't see or move. So anyway, V, that ride back with the stormtroopers, you know, even before the stormtroopers came on board, because that was that moment too. Like, oh my God, of course. So Qui-Gon's like, let me not appear to be a Jedi by putting up my hood, so I appear less.
Look exactly like a Jedi.
Yeah, there we go.
He is. All I can think of is like basically everything that Obi-Wan has done to disguise him facially is the extent of putting on. Do you remember like those fake noses with the mustache and the glasses? And it's like, oh, I look completely different in my disguise. Like,
yeah,
whatever.
You're not Superman. You can't do that. So what's up with the gate? Yeah, the laser gate. We could do a whole show about the laser gate situation.
I consider that moment deep. I need that moment was a setup for what was to come.
Oh my God. We could talk about the laser gate for an entire hour, but we've only got about 10 minutes left. So V, tell us about this moment and what does it mean? Leia says, "Are you my father?"
Yeah.
Ooh.
So that moment is, I mean, for on the surface level, you don't even have to deep dive it to understand the emotional impact of it. You don't even have to have seen anything other than the Skywalker saga of movies to know that Leia grew up on Alderaan with adopted parents. And so, of course, it would be natural for her to wonder who her real father is. But in her asking Obi-Wan that, there's a couple of things that I read from that. One, I think we see a lot of Leia's Force sensitivity coming out in the way that she reads people very, very well. We're constantly seeing this little girl who is 10 years old being way wiser when it comes to people. I think, and that's how her Force sensitivity is presenting itself. But on top of that, one thing that really you kind of learn a little bit in some of the other Star Wars like shows and everything is that it's you don't join the Jedi, you are taken by the Jedi.
You can say kidnapped. It's okay. They're kidnappers.
They technically ask, but like you're snatched from your parents by the Jedi. Usually when you're only several months old. So all of your what we would consider your formative years, you're in this cult religion. But when you talk to a lot of Jedi who are taken, like, for example, Obi-Wan was taken at the age of 6 months, I believe. And he still has these memories of having a brother, this about his mother. He has these flashes. Yeah. Exactly. You would never, a 6-month-old would never remember that in our universe. We don't remember things really clearly before at the age of like 4 or so. But what we do see is, and we hear Leia say it, I believe in episode 6, she remembers her mother's smile, the warmth.
Yeah.
From
just images. Yeah.
So, well, who else was there at her birth? Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan was one of the first faces that Leia saw after she was born. One of the first person to hold her was Obi-Wan Kenobi. So you can say it's a little bit of her hoping that this person who she clearly knows knew her mother is her father, but there's also that possible realization that she's recounting a memory, her first memory, which would have been Obi-Wan's face. So knowing that is one part of what makes that moment so special. The other part is Obi-Wan's reaction to it. When he says, I wish I was your father. I think there's so many layers to that. I think he is looking at the niece that he knows he could have loved, once that came to light, and Anakin probably would have left the order. Obi-Wan would have still loved.
100%. Yeah.
And Luke and Leia. We see that. We see that it's not just that Obi-Wan's been on the planet in case something happened. He has watched over Luke every day. He saw that Luke wants to fly and be a pilot. So he saves up all this money to get him a toy. He loves Luke. And he had never really met Leia other than when she was born. And you can see that over these short few days, he has really learned to love her too. Because when he says he sees Padme in her, he sees Padme in her, and he cared about Padme. That is one thing that the movies really kind of failed at, is showing the love and the depth of that love and the relationship that Obi-Wan really had for Anakin and Padme. He has known both of them since they were children. Again, obviously, Natalie Portman was older than like the 14-year-old that she should have been. But he's known them since they were children. He has known the entire Skywalker family since they were children.
There is a connection there for sure. Let me just real quick. I wanted to ask you, when we're talking about memory and we're talking about the Jedi children, Force sensitive, like you said, we don't really remember much, before the age of 4. Sometimes, like you said, like we'll get images, flashes, we'll get maybe feelings, things that might have been memories, but nothing really solid or concrete. Do you think that's different for Force sensitives? Do they have a stronger memory? Is the memory maybe boosted by the Force, so they're able to remember and connect to things differently at a younger age?
So here is my theory on that. And when I say my theory, I mean, this is entirely mine. I don't know if this theory is out there or canon or legends or whatever. But my theory about it is you can take as many kids as you want and force them into your cult and religion. Kids are they are inquisitive little shits. And you're trying to tell me that none of these kids wondered who their families were? If I was raised in a cult or religion away from my parents, you think I'm not going to use the Force to try and access some memories and wonder who I was?
Good point.
I think that is something that every Force sensitive kid who was raised by the Jedi, or I should say raised away from their parents, has probably wondered. And as we know, the Force is connected to the entire galaxy, the universe, as far as we know. So it's clear that Leia has wondered where she comes from. So my theory is that she's touched on that a little bit in that wondering. She has inadvertently, untrained, used the Force and accessed some of those memories because they are out there. They are part of the Force. Her mother and father, well, I should say her mother and eventually her father will become part of the Force. So that's my theory on why she thought that.
Okay. Very good point.
Which kind of leads to another thing that really hit me that Obi-Wan said is that he, like Leia, is an orphan in a way. And he talks about how he found a new family in the Jedi. His family was Anakin.
Yeah.
His family is her. He is looking at his family. I mean, if Anakin is his brother, that is his niece.
Yeah. And he lost his family twice. He lost his biological family, and then his Jedi family wiped out or turned to the dark side. Absolutely. So now who's left? Luke and Leia.
And I think one thing is it's more of a stretch, but I love bringing it up. And the reason I do bring it up is because I saw a TikTok where I think it was like a Disney Plus account or something, or had released a list of things you should watch in preparation of some of the upcoming episodes. And they specifically targeted the episodes that had Satine, which for those who are not familiar, that is someone we meet in the Clone Wars who was Obi-Wan's love interest when he was a young apprentice, someone he almost left the Jedi Order for, someone he could have started a family with. And he stuck with the Order, and he, that was where his loyalty ended up lying. But there's got to be a part of him that always regretted it. And I'm sure looking at Leia, there is part of him that's like, I could have been a father.
Yeah.
He chose that. And had he chosen to leave the Jedi Order, none of this would have happened. So, you know what I mean? So there's so much that goes into it. We know he blames himself. I mean, he knows he wishes he wasn't who he was. Yeah, exactly like Jim said, he would have left if she gave the word. Like, there's so many levels into that moment, and just her question and his response to it that are just absolutely gut-wrenching when you think about the characters and what they've been through. Leia has always been his family, and that is one thing that I love about this show, because we always think of Obi-Wan and his connection with Anakin and with Luke. And so I am so glad that we are getting to see that connection with Leia, and through Leia, highlighting that connection with Padme, because they were his family too.
Yeah, G kind of did a little bit of a rewrite here in Obi-Wan. They told you what happened to your uncle, did he? And then Obi-Wan says, "No, I am your uncle." All right, G. Jeez, oh man.
Nice. That's well done.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely,
I think it was mentioned earlier by someone in the comments, but how well written that scene in the back of the truck was, because you see them coming up with this fake story, but that fake story ends up connecting these two very much closer in a moment of true character development.
And you can hear
such a good scene.
You can hear it, and this is a testament to Ewan McGregor as an actor. The way he says, like, when I look at her, I see her mother's face. He says that differently than he says every other line in that scene. And you can tell that was just gut-wrenching from the heart. And
you hear the quiver.
It sold the Stormtrooper too.
Yeah.
He quit asking questions after that.
Stormtrooper felt stupid. He was like, "Oh, my bad."
I mean, the moment, again, failure of the prequels, which I love the prequels, but this was a failure, is Obi-Wan kills Anakin, what he thinks, kills Anakin, his best friend, his brother, one of two people that he loves in this galaxy.
Loves, yeah.
The other being Satine, who, spoiler alert, ain't long for this world. And so he goes to that, immediately sees the love of his brother's life essentially die in front of him after giving him the children of his best friend and everything. And he's dealing with all of that with the world he knows crumbling around him. All of this, culminating in this conversation that he has with Leia.
He is the strongest man in the galaxy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
I mean, when you talk about trauma, you talk about mental health issues. Listen to what you just said about all of these things that are weighing on this man's mind and soul. He is so full of love, and it has nowhere to go.
Nowhere
to go.
Mm-hmm.
But
don't worry, the Star Bros had things to complain about it. So this isn't my Obi-Wan.
Yeah,
whatever.
There's always something to complain about.
Ewan McGregor would look at them and say, "Well, you're not a Star Wars fan," as we know, which he proudly has said. So
look,
we stand.
Yeah.
I had to write down the name of the actress, but Vivian Lyra Blair is who plays Leia, and she's wiser, more connected than I ever will be in my life.
Yeah, she is absolutely killing it. Man, God, good stuff. All right, so predictions for next week. Oh my God. Okay, so predictions for next week. Who do we think we're going to see pop up next week? Daddy Louie, do you think we're going to see anybody new pop up next week? Is Quinlan on deck for next week, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I honestly would like to. I mean, if he wants to make a cameo towards the end, I don't think that the show needs any more new characters. I think we're we're good on new characters. I want to see more character development from the characters we have.
Okay.
I want to know more about Tala. Is that what her name is? Tala.
Yeah.
I hope that she stays in the series for the rest of the series.
Same.
Yeah, I think that she's super cool, and it only took one episode for me to care about her character, unlike all the other characters that took 3 episodes.
Okay.
All right. We did.
You don't care about the star-nosed mole?
No.
I really want to see them do something with Tala that gets her into Mandalorian era, so we can see her in some way with Pedro, just to bring back those Game of Thrones vibes. Wasn't she Pedro's sister in Game of Thrones?
No, lover, right?
Or lover, yeah.
Oh, lover. Oh, yeah. They're, well, I mean, Game of Thrones, lovers, lover's sister. Oh, the same thing. It's whatever, I guess. So I don't know if she's going to make it through this series, but if she does, I would really like to see her and Pedro in a scene together. That would just be a lot of fun for the fanboys and girls of Game of Thrones. So, Quailman, D to the UG, what are your predictions for next week?
First and foremost, I have to get up on my soapbox and point out that I am 1 for 1 on predictions. I said we would get a lightsaber battle in this episode, and we did.
Yes,
so only because it's 1 for 1, and I'm batting 1,000, I'm going to say it. So I'm going to keep this very high level and broad, so that I can say batting 1,000. No, I think it. You're not going to have, and forgive me, I've already forgotten the actor's name. I don't think he's going to be on for 3 episodes and not be Quinlan Voss. So I think we're getting Quinlan
Jackson
Voss.
Jr.
Thank you. And I'm fine with that. I want more Quinlan Voss because I'm sorry, Louis. Quinlan Voss is not a new character, and this will be spectacular character development. Go home and watch the Clone Wars. And so that's my
Touche.
Ooh, shots fired. So Brent mentioned something, and Brent, I mean, you kind of said the word of the day. This is the one that triggers me. So
They're quite furry, very furry.
I got to do it. I know, Doug. I know. I'm sorry. Not
furry enough.
Not furry enough. Yummy. So Doug's dropping the glove. All right, dropping the gauntlet. There it is. All right. V&A predictions for next week, please.
I'm gonna let Aaron go first.
All right. So my thought here is that whether or not we do see Quinlan, I think his quote is going to play more of an effect. And what he says is, only when the eyes are closed can you truly see. That, I feel, is going to start to play more into, whether it's Quinlan or not, I think it's going to play into Reva's character a little bit more.
Oh.
I think because now we see her with Leia, and Leia is so good at psychoanalyzation, we're really going to see Reva struggle with her dark side. And whether or not she is truly 100% gunning for Vader's sidekick, or whether or not she's got aims at taking down Vader, or I think it's going to be more. This next episode is going to start to see where Reva really is.
Okay.
And maybe the first steps on her redemption.
All right.
My prediction's actually really close to Aaron and actually ties in, and I didn't know where he was going with that, so that's kind of cool. I do think that we are going to get some really interesting interactions between Leia and Reva. I think that through that, we are going to learn what Reva's motivations are. I don't think that she is currently good. I've seen a few commenters kind of say that. My theory specifically on Reva's motivation is that there's a quote from episode 2 of the Obi-Wan series where the Grand Inquisitor says, "You came to us from the gutter." As we know, the Inquisitors found Jedi who are younglings and Force-sensitive kids and took them. So I think that's very specific, saying that Reva found them. my theory is that Reva was waiting. What?
The quote. Why haven't we seen a Force user turn off their opponent's lightsaber mid-battle?
I could go into that, and I'm not going to.
That's a whole show too.
That's a whole different show.
Tony, we're going to address that. I'll write that down. We'll address that because
But I think that we're going to find out that Reva was on her own for a really long time, waiting for the last person to contact the Jedi to find her. And we know that was Obi-Wan Kenobi. He broke into the Jedi Temple. He changed the message. You know, he was there on Coruscant right after Order 66, right after, if we are correct in assuming that the little girl from the beginning of the show was Reva, she was there and she was probably waiting for someone to come and rescue her. And when that didn't happen, she had to find some other way to survive. I feel like that's my theory on why she's so bitter, is she was waiting for her only hope, which was only Obi-Wan Kenobi, who failed her in her mind. And as we know, the way that the Inquisitors and the Emperor and Vader twist the minds is by filling these kids with hate and turning them against the Jedi, especially those ones who were raised in the Jedi Temple at all. And so that's my theory. And I think we're going to see Leia start to chip away at that a little bit.
Okay.
And we're going to start to see the cracks in Reva and kind of see her have to make that decision. I think that'll play out over the next 1 to 2 episodes.
I love it. Is that enough character development for you, Daddy Louie, if it happens? Because that sounds, I want to watch that. V, what you just said, I want to watch that. And I really hope that we get to see that. Daddy Louie, is that enough character development for you, please?
As long as they don't bring in new characters, I'm good. God. I don't want to see no Quinlan Voss.
Development. Do it.
All right, we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you, everybody. We'll go around the horn again. And does anybody have anything that they're doing? V and A, what do you guys got going on? Anything?
I started my Ahsoka Tano cosplay, which you can check out the first photo of that on my Instagram. Mixed_madness. That's MYXED_madness cosplay or something like that on Instagram.
We'll figure it out.
I got the headdress form built out. Did that in about a day. So getting that started. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. D to the UG, you've got a little thing going on here shortly, don't you?
I got a big old thing going on here. That's why I'm a little sleepy tonight. So sorry, guys. I've been hard at work. Kane Park, if you're in the Cleveland area, Kane Park in Cleveland Heights, regional premiere of School of Rock, the musical. We open this Friday, June 9th, and run the rest of June. And I'm playing Dewey Finn. So kanepark.com, and you'll see me sing and play guitar and hopefully be a lot more awake than I am right now.
Well, thank you for taking the time to join us, because I know you are fucking rocking it. I mean, you are running. I know you are.
Dude, your promo pics look so
right.
Good.
Yeah, your promo pics are awesome. Were those Andy's?
That's our good friend Andy Dudick.
Andy Dudick, that's the guy. That's the guy. All right, and that's going to be so fun. Hopefully, are the tickets still available?
Tickets are definitely available. kanepark.com.
All right,
right there.
I want to go on opening night. I want to see you on opening night, and I want to see you on closing night just to see the
how many
progression.
To see that I've lost 30 pounds.
I just want to see like how much more gray hair you have. You know, the sad, empty expression on your face. But no, I think you'll be glowing.
The expression will all be there. I just may lose 30 pounds in the summer heat.
That's all right. You'll gain it all back by winter.
Oh,
I'll help you. All right, Daddy Louie, what's going on? It's so tiny. I know that.
It's so tiny. Yeah, check me out. Twitch.tv/Circle of Nerds every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Also got the TikTok and the Facebook and the Instagram and all that stuff.
All of the things. Check out all of the things. And of course, please do follow Circle of Nerds on all platforms. Like, subscribe, share, all that fun stuff. Please head on over to our YouTube channel if you're not there already, and hit us with a sub, because we are really trying to push that 1,000 subscriber mark so we can maybe start making a little bit of money off this thing and doing some stuff. And head on over to circleofnerds.com, especially if you are an Obi-Wan Kenobi fan. We have the ultimate Obi-Wan Kenobi fan merch on our website. So head on over there. circleofnerds.com/merch for all that fun stuff. And if you'd like to support us in any other way, you can head on over to patreon.com/circleofnerds. Heading on over there, that helps to keep us ad-free and helps to keep the lights on. Any little bit that you can throw our way to support us would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And before we head out, Tony wanted to know, is there an option to watch School of Rock online? Or is that going to be a live?
I don't think they're streaming it at all, but I can find out.
All right, yeah, we'll find out for next week, or we'll put something on our Facebook page for you, Tony. And if anybody else is
totally
interested in
paid to have access to watch
yeah.
that one night.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
It runs for 3 weekends too.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. It's gonna be great. All right, everyone, thank you all for joining us. We really, really appreciate you, and let us know how we're doing. Leave a comment, in the comments. And let us know if you like this format. We're not just recapping. We're not just telling you, what we thought of the episode. We're really, trying to look at things from a certain point of view. You see what I did there? So let us know. circleofnerds.com. Check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all of the things, TikTok, everywhere that you want to consume us. We're everywhere for you. All right. So
we're very consumable.
We are very consumable. Bite size even. Well, Louis is more bite-sized than the rest of us, I think.
Oh wow!
I mean, I'm just saying.
It is so tiny.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God! All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. We will be back with more of these shenanigans next week. And as we always say, if no one does anything nice for you, do something nice to yourself. And we will see you guys next week. Bye. I need to make an outro. So we'll just
jazz hands.